Hello, and Kings of War week is upon us. This week, we're looking at all the different myriad of armies that are in Kings of War and exploring how the game plays. But one of the coolest things is all the stuff we're giving away. We have a massive grand prize of two 2,000 point armies, one undead and one you get to choose yourself. If you want to be in with a chance of winning, comment on this video here on YouTube or over on beastsofwar.com. If you do both, that gets you 2 entries. If you write a blog post and send the link to us at community@beastsofwar.com, that gets you another 10 entries. We're also giving away spot prizes of individual army deals, and the way we're going to work that is if you create a forum post or you participate in a forum post somewhere out on the interweb and we find out about it, we're going to be picking people at random and you're going to win an army. So, enjoy Kings of War week, because we most certainly will. So we're about to hit the Twilight Kin. Yeah, if you want to follow along, you can find the Twilight Kin on the original Kings of War book on page 126. These are elves gone wrong.
They've gone a little bit wrong, haven't they? Yeah. So elves.
Yes.
We know that elves have played quite a big part in the downfall of civilization, more or less.
Yeah, and elves actually are older than the Celestians, which I thought, wow, that's interesting.
So these guys are kind of the elves who, when that was all kind of kicking off, they're the ones who were probably a bit dodgy anyway, you know.
Yeah.
Because obviously elves aren't, even though the elves that we see as elves now are good,
yeah,
it doesn't mean the elf race as a whole is good. You got your elves who are a little bit on the shady side. So these ones, when the God War happened and the wicked ones were born, they were like, oh, awesome, and just went and jumped straight wholeheartedly in with that.
Yeah.
Some say they were like kind of behind a little bit. They were kind of manipulating the elf who led to the whole downfall, you know. But in any case, when the wicked ones came about, they immediately said, we will so worship you.
Yeah.
Give us some power in return. And of course, you know, as we all know, the quick way to power is never, you know, the right way to go. It's the dark side, clearly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're just evil. They're horrible. And of course, the regular elves didn't like this.
Yeah.
And so there was a huge sort of civil war, and they ended up fleeing through the desert, where Calisor, the elf who'd kind of messed up earlier, conjured a massive dust storm, sandstorm, with the aid of the Celestials.
And is he dead now?
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. Okay.
But so on a massive sandstorm, and they fled into the desert, and they were assumed dead. What actually happened, though, the wicked ones kind of opened up for them, massive hole in the ground, which led to this huge underground cavern.
Yeah.
Which is like a big forest canopy in that. And to this day, they're down there. They're kind of down there plotting their revenge and all that kind of thing. But
so they live in kind of like an underworld, dark forest.
Yeah, they're all kind of creepy and a little bit pale and all that kind of thing. And what's nice is because they're not a numerous race. They're pretty much, you don't get many more, you know, elves turning that evil that quickly.
Yeah.
They have to rely on cloak and dagger stuff. So their whole army is geared on this kind of poisons and nasty things, and assassins and all that kind of stuff.
And I would imagine they're quite an age, a lot of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well,
yeah, these are like the ones that were rocking around way back, you know. What I think is quite cool is they're quite down with the abyss, same way the abyssal dwarves are. So these guys, the wicked ones, are in the abyss, so they're quite keen on, you know, raising them up out of there.
Yeah.
But whereas the abyssal dwarves are looking to kind of, you know, master the abyss, these guys are just worshipping it and going, yeah, cool, you're great, keep giving us power, we don't care, we'll say you're great and everything. Yeah. So it's two different takes on the same kind of idea.
Ah, so, well, some of the units and stuff they get spearmen, guard, buccaneers, blade dancers. Now, what are blade dancers? That sounds all kind of awesome, really. Yeah, so
they're kind of the ones that lead the worship of the abyss. So they're kind of like priests and cultists, that kind of thing. And they're lightly armoured with knives and ceremonial daggers, that kind of thing. So they'll be like sort of sacrifice people on the battlefield, you know, doing all sorts of crazy ritual dances and things, which is, I think, quite a cool little idea, you know. Now, again, it's a unit we haven't got any models for yet, so you could do some cool conversion work with those. and do whatever you like.
Nice. You have things like the gargoyles. We've talked about them in the past. You have crossbowmen, dark knights, heralds of the woe. What are your kind of favorite? What are the kind of standout units for the Twilight Kin?
I think just their basic infantry are really nice. They've got some really nice kind of spear-armed warrior. They've got really nice crossbowmen and things. They've got a really solid. You can lay a really solid force on the table.
Yeah.
Without anything too flashy in it and do well.
Yeah.
I mean, Kings of War is really infantry based. You know, you'll always do well with big blocks of infantry, but Twilight Kin do that a little bit better because that little bit, you know, they're all vicious and horrible.
And their block size, well, their block size is pretty standard. Troops 10, regiment 20, hordes 40.
Yeah.
Would you go what's the typical kind of makeup you would normally see for these guys? Would they be in regiment size or?
It depends on how big a game you're playing. I mean, 40, the horde of 40 is the standard for bigger games, certainly, because you want the extra attacks that you're getting at that point and the really high nerve value.
Yeah.
And with a Twilight Kin army, you know, you've got a high nerve value anyway, so a block that size is really hard to shift, which makes them quite survivable, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, but also what's quite cool as well as those basic infantry, you've got a whole range of cool stuff. So you've got the abyssals, so you've got the gargoyles that you mentioned.
Yep.
And you've got some lower abyssals, which are just general demons.
Yeah.
And again, you can do what you like. If you want to have like crazy, like amphibious fish demons, you know, do that. Or whatever you want to do, you know.
Fish demons.
Fish demons.
How cool is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being vaguely elfy, they've got kind of dragony things as well.
Yeah.
So you've got the...
I do like the idea of giving these guys a kind of like a fishman type thing.
Nothing's stopping it,
I think that's kind of funky, actually.
Yeah.
You know, the Carnivale has a model called the Aberration.
Okay, yeah.
With the tentacle and stuff
You
like
could
that
do it.
there. You know, you could kind of introduce it just to give it something just really, really weird.
Yeah.
They have war engines such as the Dragon's Breath and then they have these infantry of lower abyssals, you know, that you, as you say, are kind of like demon-esque, you know, they're pulled in from
and
the
they can
abyss.
be, and what's nice to them, they've got the regeneration rule, meaning they're a really hard unit to get rid of.
Yeah.
And it's just the idea that they're kind of, you kill them, you slice them in half, and they go and get back up, because they're not really real, you know, they're kind of a magical creature from beyond the plane of mortals.
Yeah, the other thing they have is they have, which I think is one of the great units, is the Abyssal Fiend, which is a really flexible unit. Again, you know, again I've talked about in the Abyssal Dwarves, you know, raising up, you know, a demon, a proper greater demon with wings. The Abyssal Fiend will allow you to do that, you know, because it can have wings, it can have a breath attack, it can have zap.
Yeah.
You know, that is, it's
like
really
that,
monstrous.
It's a thing you can kind of customize.
It's a construct.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a construct and you could just use that for creating the most awesome centerpiece to the army.
It's lovely because you've got this kind of real feel that you've got, you know, you've got an army that is this elite small infantry thing, and because they're dying out, they're just bringing in abyssal minions and whatever demons and whatever else they can to fight for them.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's again, if I was modelling that, I would have the demon in possibly on a kind of a circular, raised slightly on a kind of like a circular stone with an altar with a high priestess. Oh, I'd have the high priestess.
There you go.
In front of it, doing this, and then the demon appearing in front of her. You know, to capture that whole worship.
Because whereas you've got the abyssal dwarves who have kind of chained it, and shackled
it.
This is like, oh, we love you, fight for us.
That'd just be so cool. That'd be
and you could totally ally the two.
Yeah.
And like have the two different sides of the same kind of coin, you know?
Can you imagine an army of part Abyssal Dwarves, part Twilight King, and the Abyssal Dwarves with their chained demon?
Yeah.
And these guys with their unleashed.
The Twilight Kin going, look. It's all right, we're cool.
This is how you do it.
Yeah. Don't you worry, mate. We're looking after you.
They have a hero called the Assassin.
Yep.
Now, you'd mentioned that they're kind of a bit cloak and
It's a very
dagger and
archetypal,
stuff like
sort of, you know, fallen elf kind of archetype. Because elves, I mean, you know, they're nimble, they're graceful, that kind of thing. So when they turn evil, you can totally see the assassin kind of coming forward. And he's like a little lone character who runs around. He can get way ahead of the army. He can seek out enemy heroes, take them out. He's really good at getting through armour. You know, he's got throwing weapons, knives, poisons, all that sort of stuff. So he's a really cool little one-off character.
That is awesome. And then finally, they have something I want to talk about called the Death Stalker Simulacre, or what how do you pronounce it?
Simula.
It's on page 131 if you want to see it, guys. Simulacre?
I've got no idea. I'm going to go with what you said.
Simulacre.
What he said.
In dark times, an evil god of the abyss can imbue one of of its stone effigies with its power.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's a big stone
statue of a demon.
Yeah.
That's come to life and is not happy. You know, I'd go for that.
A stone demon. How cool would that be? I can't get it out of my head, but do you remember in Hero Quest?
The gargoyle.
The gargoyle!
Absolutely. I'm glad we went there, yeah. But because you could how's this for an idea, yeah? You have that as the model. You have it stepping off its plinth. Like, so you got like the little plinth there. And like,
down. Yeah, getting ready.
yeah, absolutely. Like big. You can have like a big sort of whip or something, and you can see it's kind of turning from stone back to something else.
Back into something.
So stone, not stone, where it's all looping around.
And the foot reaching out, stone leg coming down to
totally.
not stone foot.
How much
There's
fun would that
so
be?
much opportunity
I know.
here. And again, you could use a kind of a stippling texture on the rest of the model to give it that stone effect. When it was painted grey, if you did, I would probably use textured paint actually.
Yeah, totally.
But,
on part of it where it's kind of where it's still stone.
Anywhere where it's stone, I would use textured paint so that it has that kind of stone texture, and then on the rest of it, I would have it just smooth out. Into a proper painting of a red leg or something like that, and then the whip coming out. That would be kind of awesome.
We've got far too many projects that I want to do today.
Yes, yeah. It's I'm about to burst actually. So guys, what do you think then of the Twilight Kin? You know, so these guys are more into their kind of worship of the abyss. So it's not the brute force of the abyssal dwarves. There's a slightly more. I think that these guys still think that they can almost outsmart it a little.
Absolutely, yeah. So what they're doing is they're going, we all worship you, and one day we'll overthrow you and work out how. But for now, we'll worship you and keep giving us the power because that's great. You know,
I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
So are you a Twilight Kin player? Do you think you could be taken over to the Twilight side? Post below because we'd love to hear about it. And I can't wait to read your ideas. Other than that, stay tuned as we hit up the last couple of armies in Kings of War. Thanks for watching, guys.